Welcome everyone, and I'm so glad you are here. My name is Zora and my pronouns are she, her, and I am honored to sit in today as the circle keeper for today's healing circle. We expect today to be intense, but hopefully as healing as possible. Before we get started, let's set the space. This is the speaking baton. In order to make sure everyone is able to speak their whole truth without interruption, please respect the speaking baton by only speaking when you have it in hand. Please resist any urges to speak without the baton, and please know and understand that I, as a circle keeper, may speak without it only if necessary to maintain the space and facilitation. We do make room for mistakes here, but be mindful if you repeatedly, recklessly, and/or intentionally speak without the baton in your hand, we may ask you to disengage this space. I'd like it if we started with an affirmation. I will read an affirmation out loud. After I read it, I invite those who are willing and able to read it out loud together, or just read it to yourself. Here is the affirmation I have prepared for today. For today, in this moment, I affirm that I am going to be as non-judgmental as I can, with a clear head, and as open of a mind as I can manage, and I am going to include myself in that non-judgment and give myself space to be free even if for just a moment. Alright, let's take a moment to get to know each other in this shared space. I'm going to ask everyone, if they wish, to introduce themselves by stating their name, and yes, you can use a pseudonym if you wish. Also state what pronouns you use, 1 or 2 words to describe what emotions you are feeling in this moment, and I'll also ask today's icebreaker question, which is: what is your favorite genre of music, or favorite song right now? Okay, so please, if you feel comfortable, state your name and pronoun, a word or 2 to describe your emotions, and if you wish, the answer to the icebreaker question, and pass the baton to the individual on your left until it comes back to me. Thank you everybody for being here in this shared space. In order for shared spaces to be as safe and as productive as possible, as a community, we will establish norms and agreements. Norms and agreements help us own this shared space, while making space for everyone. Most of these are not rules, but we do ask you make your best effort to honor them. As a circle keeper, I may interject only to remind you of a norm. We all assume best intentions when someone misses a norm. After all, this can be a tense and emotional experience. If you feel someone has not honored a norm, simply raise your hand. Please do not interrupt or interject. Once the discussion gets to the right place, I will step in, and we can address the norm as a community. There are some non-negotiable norms in this space, however, and these do have to be honored. While we do make room for mistakes and growth, intentional or repeated dishonoring of these norms may cause us to need to disengage with you in this space for the time being. By being here, you do consent to these non-negotiable norms. They are as follows. We maintain 100% confidentiality. You should never discuss, without explicit consent, who was present in this space, or the content of any dialogue you hear in this space. You are free to share your story, but not the story of others. We speak from our own perspectives only. We use I language and do not attempt to speak from anyone else's perspective or on their behalf. This space remains a space rooted in nonviolence and anti-oppression. This doesn't mean we have to be nice or pleasant, but we are kind. We recognize our privilege, and when we are harmful as a result of our privilege, we own it and commit to doing better. The speaking baton is to be honored. As a circle keeper, I may have to speak occasionally without it to maintain the space, but other than that, no one should speak without the baton. These norms are non-negotiable in this space. Does everyone in this space consent to making their best intention for themselves and others in this space to honor these non-negotiable norms to the best of their ability? The rest of the norms and agreements we make can be modified or adjusted and are applicable in today's circle, but may not be in future ones depending on the group's consensus. Does anyone have anything they would like to modify, add, or remove? If so, please raise your hand and I'll pass the baton. This circle is healing in many ways for many, but with healing often comes trauma and pain. During this time, you may feel a variety of emotions, and emotions are always welcomed here without judgment. You may feel anger, sorrow, pity, regret, remorse, grief, pain, fear, or many other emotions. Sometimes, you may even feel happiness or contentment, or maybe relief. Sometimes, you may go through an array of emotions. This is normal. If you need to step away to compose yourself, please do. We will continue, and when you come back, we'll welcome you. You can also choose to leave for the day. You can tell us, but you don't have to. Just don't interrupt anyone, and please leave quietly. We won't ask, as we respect your autonomy. You will be welcomed back without judgment next time. Sometimes, you may not love something someone says. Remember, no two survivors are alike, and may have different interpretations as to their situation and feelings. When speaking, we want you to be fluid, intentional, and as honest as you feel safe to be. We don't wish to censor anyone. We do ask, however, that you be mindful about mentioning the names of others who were victims or survivors without their prior consent. If you need to tell a story involving another, and they have not consented to it, please make sure to conceal their identity. Remember, this isn't crosstalk. You can amplify what someone else said, but please don't offer advice or guidance. If you feel you can share a resource with someone, please approach them after the circle and get their consent before giving any advice. Respect the boundary if they say no. While we want to allow intentional free speech, we must also be mindful of our privileges and marginalization in society, even when they make us uncomfortable. We all move through society, including trauma, in different ways due to our identities and cultures. Please be mindful of that as you speak. If someone says something oppressive or marginalizing to you or to another group, please raise your hand and we'll address it with firmness but with love. Please be respectful and kind in how you receive feedback, and always understand it is from a place of love. Last, but certainly not least, let's agree to maintain confidentiality. You are free to share your story in any forum or venue you so desire. Please do not share other people's stories or anything said in this circle by others. It is never okay to breach someone's trust in this circle, and may result in us having to not invite you in the space for everyone's safety. As a reminder, there is no cross-talk. Please use I language and speak only from your own perspective. Please only speak when you have the baton in hand. There's no time limit in speaking, but please be mindful of others. Once the baton has been passed around to everyone, we'll come back and open it up to anyone else with additional thoughts, if time allows. I generally won't interject, but if a norm or agreement is not honored, or if it seems time might be running out, I might give some direction so everyone gets a chance, and we can honor this circle's time as much as possible. We do encourage love snaps. If you love what someone is saying, snap your fingers, if you are able. Please do not touch any person in any way without explicit consent, even to comfort them, as everyone's boundaries are different. You can throw out a kind word or two of encouragement during someone's talk, unless they ask you not to, but please don't overpower them, try to cross-talk or correct them, interject, or disrupt them. If you don't love what someone is saying, as long as it's not oppressive or marginalizing, please just keep that to yourself, and step away if you need to. Don't pour out negative words. If it is marginalizing or oppressive, please raise your hand if you are able, and we will address it together. Remember, you do not have to speak if you don't wish. You can just pass the baton without speaking, no questions asked. Does everyone understand and feel ready?